Welcome to Amazon Academy. I am Vipul Mehta, and last time we did thermodynamics part 2. We have covered the basics of thermodynamics and we have covered the first law of thermodynamics so far. Today we are going to see the second law and the third law of thermodynamics, which is basically very tricky, especially the second law, because we are going to deal with something which is entropy, and entropy is in itself a very dreaded concept. Hi Jigar, how are you? Good afternoon. So let's make full use of this Saturday. I gave you a couple of questions to work on, and I hope all of you were able to solve those questions. We will discuss a couple of questions before we proceed from the last class. And today, one thing which we will understand is, what is the criterion for spontaneity? Now, which is a very, very popular question. So there are a couple of popular questions like criterion for spontaneity, or calculation of entropy in different cases, calculation of entropy of system, calculation of entropy of surroundings. Then what will happen if phase changes? Hi, I am. What is your name? Hello. So one thing which we will understand is all these things which we are going to cover today. We are also going to do a lot of problems. I expect all of you to please, use a paper and pen and solve the questions with me. Hi, Nikita. So whenever I say you keep a pen and paper, you basically I'll ask you some questions. Meanwhile, and whatever we are going to learn today, we are going to apply it now, then and there. So basically, in that case, there will be no doubts left. Okay. So I think without much ado, let's start. So for people who don't know me, I am Vipul Mehta, BTech IIT Bombay. In case you have Physical Chemistry by Wiley Publication, I am the author of that book. Some best practices for live class: join the class on time, watch the complete lecture. In case you miss any class, watch the recording. Please revise before coming to the class. Be polite, be kind with your peers, your teachers, everyone in life in general you should be kind with. Don't spam in class, and don't use any kind of obscenity or uncivilized language. If you will see, there is a My Doubts tab which is near the chat tab. Okay, so in case you have any academic doubt, you can ask the doubt on the My Doubts tab, and without disturbing the class, your doubts will be answered. So I think I have clearly set the ground rules here. What will be the system requirements? If you're watching this lecture on your laptop, then you have to use Chrome or Firefox. If you're using it on mobile, use Android version 6 or above, and make sure that your internet speed is greater than or equal to 5 Mbps. Okay, shall we proceed? All set. Recap. Hi PS, how are you? What's your name, PS? Please write your name after whatever you say, so I will. It will be easier for me to communicate to you. So I asked you one question. This was a homework given to you last class. 2 moles of an ideal gas is heated at constant pressure, so isobaric, of 2 atm from 127 degrees Celsius to 327 degrees Celsius, and CV is given to you like this. Okay, so if CV is given to you like this, can I say N into CV into dt integral will be delta U? Hi Prashant. So if you integrate this from 400 to 600, you will get this as 8800 joules or 80.8 kilojoules. Now what will be the work done? Work done will be minus P delta V, and since it is ideal gas, it is nothing but minus NR delta T. So this will be equal to this. So basically this will be minus 3.325 kilojoule. So this is joules. Okay, so this cannot be the answer. This cannot be the answer. Now what will be Q? Q will be delta U minus W. So this minus minus of this, so basically 84.125 kilojoules. Again, Q is not the answer. So the answer to this question will be B for Bombay. So this was one homework which was given to you in the last class. Another homework which was given to you was this. Now, this is a very good question. Basically, you were given a graph like this, and you were asked what was the heat capacity. So we know heat capacity C can be calculated as R upon gamma minus 1 minus R upon x minus 1 for a process PV to the power of x is equal to constant. So let's say the process is PV to the power of x constant. Hi AH, what is your name? Let's say this is the process. So if I differentiate on both sides, kya aega? What will you have? You will have P into x v to the power of x minus 1 dv plus dp into v to the power of x. From this you will get dp by dv is equal to minus p x by v. Now at this point, I know the slope is basically tan of, you know, the slope is root 3, and basically I can get the value minus 2 by 1, x is equal to plus 1 by root 3. Yes or no? So once I get the value, I can get the value of x as this minus root 3 by 2. Once I get the value of x as minus root 3 by 2, because this point is given to me as p comma v. So can I say that C is equal to R upon gamma minus 1 minus R upon x minus 1? Since it is monoatomic gas, I can say gamma is equal to 1.66. This will be approximately equal to 2R. Now they can ask you some questions like this. Okay. Please refresh RF. RS, you should refresh. Okay. Let's start the lecture today. Okay. So today we are going to finish second law of thermodynamics, entropy, Gibbs free energy change, and third law of thermodynamics. Now listen to me carefully. Okay. The first and second are basically connected. The third is basically a derivation out of first and second only. And the last, that is the third law of thermodynamics, is like very, very straightforward. Okay. So this is a very important lecture. This is going to be very easy if you are going to pay attention. Okay. So please, all of you, Jigar, Nikita, Prashant, Arif, right? Please pay attention. Are we clear? Should we start? Guys, all set? Pen, paper handy? You have your pen, paper handy? Because I'll ask you some questions. Perfect. Let's start. Second law of thermodynamics. So what is the statement of second law of thermodynamics? Entropy of universe is ever increasing. Okay. So the first question is, what do you mean by entropy of universe is ever increasing? That is, if there is total entropy, let's say x at this point of time. Okay. Hi TK. So if the total entropy is x at this point of time, next point of time it will be x plus 0.001 x. So it is always going to increase. Okay. Why is that case? Okay. So let's understand one thing. What is a spontaneous process? And what is a non-spontaneous process? Okay. So what do you mean by spontaneous process? Process which occurs on its own without external intervention. So for example, if I say falling off a leaf from a tree, are you doing anything about it? No. It is falling on its own. So I will say falling off leaf from a tree is a spontaneous process. But I will not say that, the same leaf picking up and going back to the tree, that is non-spontaneous process, because that will not happen on its own. Similarly, for example, if I say minus 5 degrees Celsius and 1 atm is the temperature and pressure, so freezing of water to ice at minus 5 degrees Celsius 1 atm is a spontaneous process. You don't have to do anything, it will automatically happen. So that is a spontaneous process. Spontaneous does not imply that it is going to be very fast, because the English language meaning of spontaneous is fast. So I'm just writing one thing here. Spontaneous process does not imply fast process. Just to give you an example, formation of fossil fuels like coal or petrol, right? It takes millions of years, but it is spontaneous. It happens on its own, right? So basically it is a spontaneous process, but it is taking a lot of time. So I'm just writing it for reference. For example, formation of fossil fuels is spontaneous, but take millions of years. Are we clear? What is non-spontaneous process? Process which will not happen on its own. Okay, so this is clear to everyone. Spontaneous and non-spontaneous things which happen on its own. So basically all the natural processes are spontaneous, or the chemical reactions which they happen on their own, it is basically a spontaneous chemical reaction. Non-spontaneous means they will not happen on their own. Are we clear? So now let's go back to second law of thermodynamics. Entropy of universe is ever increasing. Why? So if I write this mathematically, what is entropy of universe? Delta S total. Now this basically is equal to delta S system plus delta S surrounding. So what happens is, I'm writing it, for any spontaneous process, things which will not happen on its own. So for example, freezing of ice at 10 degrees Celsius and 1 atm is not spontaneous. If you keep it outside, it will not become ice, right? Freezing of water to ice will not be spontaneous at 10 degrees Celsius, but it will be automatically happening if the temperature is minus 5 degrees Celsius. Okay, so for any spontaneous process, delta S total is greater than 0. For any equilibrium, delta S total will be equal to 0. And for any non-spontaneous process, delta S total will be less than 0. So this is something which we now need to think about. Just a second. Let me put it in a box. Now listen to me carefully. When I say that for any spontaneous process, what do I mean by spontaneous? Things which happen on its own. Delta S total is greater than 0. No worries, RA, please be on time. So why is it that entropy of universe is always increasing? Why is it not decreasing? For a simple reason. For processes which are non-spontaneous, they will not happen in the very first place. Yes or no? So for processes, please refresh. I think my voice is pretty clear. SD, you can ask other kids. Refresh on your end. My end, everything is sorted. Okay, listen to me carefully. If it is a non-spontaneous process, that means that the process is not happening in the very first place. So if the process is not happening in the very first place, what I can say that the third case will not happen. So either the process will be at equilibrium, or I can say it will be basically happening. Now the perfect equilibrium do not exist. So basically whatever will happen in nature, if something will happen in nature, it will always be a spontaneous process because it is going to happen on its own. Yes or no? So only those reactions will happen which are spontaneous, and if they will happen, entropy change will be positive, or overall entropy will keep on increasing. Are we clear about this? Yes or no? So these are the reactions which happen. Are we clear about this? Yes or no? Shall we proceed? So mathematically, can I say for any spontaneous reaction? Ari, what is the doubt? What is your name, Ari? What is your name, Ari? And what is your doubt? Simply don't say no or yes. At least say what is your doubt. What is something which you have not understood? See, what I am trying to say is only those reaction. What is spontaneous? Is that your doubt? See, you have to state what your doubt is. I will repeat again. For things which happen on its own are the only things which happen in nature. So in nature only the first type of reactions will happen. These reactions will not happen in the very first place. So if this reaction is happening, I can say entropy change will be greater than 0. So basically entropy of universe will always increase, because for every spontaneous change, this change is going to be greater than 0. Yes or no? At least say a yes or no. Yes. Perfect. What is the definition of entropy? We defined the entropy in the last class from Carnot cycle, and we said ds. So basically, if I say what is the definition of entropy, can someone tell me? Please write in the comment what according to you is entropy S. What is S? Anyone? So this is a common misconception. I will get the definitions. Please write your definition. Degree of randomness. Okay. TK is saying degree of randomness. Anyone else? Entropy is not randomness but degree of measure of randomness. So let's understand what is the meaning of this. Yes, SD okay, I will tell you how. K ln omega is equal to entropy S, where K is Boltzmann constant, so it's basically a constant. Omega is number of SV. If you think I am slow, then basically, see, I have to look into the, you know what entropy is SV, right? You will tell me the answers to all these questions, right? Can you tell me what is omega? SV? Can you tell me what is omega? Quickly, because I am going fast now. Tell me what is omega? Number of microstates. Basically, this corresponds to randomness. So now I ask you a simple question. Angular momentum. Brilliant. MR. Now listen to this question. Okay. Value of R upon Na. R upon Na. Avogadro number. Avogadro number is Na. R is universal gas constant. You don't need to remember the value of R, Boltzmann constant. Listen to me carefully now. Suppose I have one ball and there are two rooms. So can you tell me the first ball can either stay in this room or it can stay in this room? Yes or no? So what are the number of ways in which this ball can stay? 2. If I have two balls, then first can stay in first or second, second can stay in first or second, so 2 to the power of 2. If I say I have 3 balls, then 2 to the power of 3, 2 cross 2 cross 2, simple. So tell me one thing, if I have Na atoms, it's very simple. Na atoms is just 1 mole, right? So can you tell me number of ways in which these atoms can stay? 2 to the power of Na. Yes or no? Yes or no? Right? Now this is number of microstates or randomness omega. Now this number 2 to the power of n is nothing but 6.023 into 10 to the power of 23. Now this number is something you cannot calculate. Okay? But if I say, can you tell me what is S? I will say is K into Na into ln2. Now this number is calculatable. Yes or no? So entropy is basically measure of this randomness. This is randomness. So for example, if I have a perfume, okay, which is kept in this room, and this I am standing in this room, and there is a perfume in this room. Why is it that I am able to smell the perfume? Because if I am not able to spell, Ari, you have to be patient, okay? You have to be patient. Can you tell me what will be the microstates in an atom if the electron is present? How many energy levels are there in an atom? How many energy levels are there in an atom? Infinite. So basically a single atom can stay in any of the energy levels. They are infinite energy levels. SD. How 3? That is what basic Bohr theory is, right? So if I say there are infinite energy levels, basically even one electron can exist in all the energy levels. So number of ways in which the electron can exist will be basically a lot. So that has to be given to you, but I know it will not be 0. It will not be 1, because if it is 1, then I can say k ln1, so entropy is 0. So entropy is fundamentally always present. It's like entropy is something which you cannot explain physically very well, but you have to understand. Let's say there are two kids. One kid is sleeping peacefully, okay, and there is another kid who is constantly doing something or the other. So number of ways in which the first kid exists is just sleeping, so 1. So entropy is low. Number of ways in which the second kid exists is sometimes he is doing something, sometimes he is doing something else. So basically number of things he can do are significantly higher. So entropy of that kid will be higher who's constantly doing something or the other. Are you clear? So entropy is basically measuring the randomness. MR, don't do all these things. Please. Concentrate. Are we clear about this? So can you tell me one thing? As the number of ways of doing anything will increase, can I say that randomness will increase? So for example, if atom 1 has 3 ways to exist and atom 2 has 15 ways to exist, entropy in which case will be higher? Atom 1 or atom 2? Atom 1 or atom 2? 15 1. Yes. Perfect. Atom 2. So can I say a couple of things now? I will just copy this again. Can I say one thing? The rules for entropy is, first, entropy of any gas will be greater than entropy of any liquid, will be greater than entropy of any solid, because gas particles are free to move. Liquids, there are constraints. As the constraints will be less, entropy will be more. Second, if temperature increases, right, considering pressure, volume are constant, can I say that entropy will increase? Why? Because particles will have more energy to move. They have more number of ways, more number of speeds. Yes or no? So they will have more freedom. If I say if volume increases, Ari, why are you wasting time? I mean, see, we are discussing something else. You are here to understand the lecture, or you're just basically, don't do this. Don't break the flow of the class. If volume increases, can you tell me what will happen to entropy, assuming pressure and temperature are constant? Can I say entropy will increase? Simple. Why? Because let's say there is this volume, so the particles have only this much space to move. If I increase the volume, number of ways in which it can move, or number of space available to it, or number of areas in which it can be present is going to increase. if I say pressure increases keeping volume and temperature as constant, what will happen? Can you tell me? Entropy will decrease. Yes. If there are 10 balls, case 1 there is more pressure, less pressure. Case 2 there is more pressure, so they will come together. So basically they are going to be now more constrained. Yes, entropy will decrease. Fifth, if atomicity increases, that means degree of freedom increases. DOF is degree of freedom. So if degree of freedom increases, entropy will increase. Just to give you an idea, entropy of H will be less than entropy of H2 because this is diatomic and this is monoatomic. Sixth, for a reaction, if change in gaseous moles, delta Ng, what is atomicity? Number of atoms. So H is atomicity is 1, atomicity is 2. If it is ozone, atomicity is 3 because it is O3, number of atoms. So for a reaction, if delta Ng is greater than 0, then I can say delta S will be positive. Why? Because basically number of gaseous moles are increases. Okay. So for example, if I give you H2 gas gives 2H gas. So I can say there, what is delta Ng here? Delta Ng basically is 1. So basically greater than 0. Therefore, what will be entropy change? Greater than 0. Simple enough. So there are few things which we might come across, and I think this is very simple for us to understand now what is entropy. What we have to learn though is what is the entropy and spontaneity. So this is something which we just did. What was it? I said if delta S total, delta S system plus delta S surrounding, if this value is greater than 0, I can say that the reaction is spontaneous. Yes or no? Now, can all of you tell me one thing? Let's say this is the system. Let's say this is the system. And this is the surrounding. Okay. Can you tell me one thing? What is the way to calculate delta S system? So delta S system is always dq reversible by T. Always. Because this is derived from Carnot cycle. So in case people don't know this, we derived it in the last class. Delta S system is this always. Okay. Now let's say there is any process. So basically let's say in system there is any process for which the heat is Q process. Let's say Q process is 10 or it is plus 10. So if it is plus 10, I can say heat is given to the system. So basically if it is given to the system, the surrounding will give the heat. So I can say for the heat for the surrounding is basically minus dq process. Yes or no? If it is dq process, it is minus dq process. So if system takes plus 10, it gives 10. If system gives 10, it takes 10. So if it is plus 10, it is minus 10. If it is minus 10, it is plus 10. Yes or no? Second thing you can tell me, whatever is the system, okay, let's say the system is a volcano. Okay, let's say because of the volcano just burst, the temperature of the atmosphere increased, okay, of that volcano. Will the temperature of the universe increase because of this volcano? Will the temperature of the universe increase because of a volcano? Think about it. Let's say I am sitting in this room, I have a matchstick, I light the matchstick. So will the temperature of the universe increase? No. Why? Because whatever system you take, surrounding is way too big. Yes or no? So can I write one thing? I'm writing one thing as note here. Surrounding is always much large compared to system. Therefore, between system and surrounding, temperature and pressure can be taken to be constant, right? So I am not saying that every process is isothermal, okay? I am not saying every. Why can you take universal system? It is impossible. Ari, see, talk sense. I don't think you have attended the first class. Have you attended the first class, Ari? Be honest. What is system? Part of the, so whatever you define as the universe, there will always be something which will be greater than that. So if you take universe as the system, so why are you wasting time, Ari? Why? Don't do this, yaar. Please. So then attend the first class, yaar. I have explained everything, what can be a system, what can be a surrounding. Okay? Listen to me carefully now. I am not saying that every process is isothermal or isobaric. I am not saying this. I am saying for any change or for any process between system and surrounding, that is this transaction I am talking about, this transaction between system and surrounding, temperature, pressure are basically constant. So if I have to define delta S surrounding, that will be minus dq process by T Are we clear about this? Minus dq process by T. Okay, so now try to understand one thing. I will just remove this. Tell me, case 1, if I have a reversible process, okay, I am writing delta S total, okay, can you tell me what will happen? Delta S system will be dq reversible by T plus delta S surrounding. Now since the process is reversible, I can say dq process is equal to dq reversible because the process is reversible, yes or no? So can I say this will be minus dq reversible by T? So can I say delta S total will be equal to 0? Yes or no? Because both of them will be cancelling out each other. Case 2, if I take an irreversible process, I say it is spontaneous. So if it is spontaneous, I can say delta S total is equal to delta S system plus delta S surrounding, and this value has to be greater than 0. So therefore I can say dq reversible is greater than dq, where I can say dq is nothing but the dq process. dq process is nothing but dq. Only then it is going to be possible. And if I say it is non-spontaneous, then I can say delta S total, that is delta S system plus delta S surrounding. This value has to be less than 0. So I can say therefore dq reversible will be less than dq. Yes or no? So what I can say, only those processes which are spontaneous, so spontaneous processes which are irreversible, this condition will always hold. Yes or no? This is known as Clausius inequality. If I say equilibrium, it has to be greater than equal to. So what is Clausius inequality? That dq reversible according to second law will always be greater than or equal to if it is equilibrium. This is Clausius inequality. Are we clear? This is clear to everyone? Ari, we did it in the last class. Don't ask random questions again. See, if you are not attended the lectures before this class, I've covered Carnot engine in the last class. Physical significance also I've explained it to you. It is impossible to convert any heat to work completely without the loss of energy. I've explained this to you in the last class. See the recording, okay? What is change in entropy? So absolute value of entropy cannot be calculated, okay? So if I ask you what is change in entropy of system, let's say we calculate it for system. So delta S system. So how do we calculate delta S system? Let's check. Delta S system is equal to integral n integral dq reversible by t. Now since it is a reversible process, can I say this is nothing but du minus w by first law of thermodynamics? Or let me just do it one thing. Let me do one thing. I've already written it here. Can you tell me what is entropy change for an ideal gas? Okay. Ari, if you read the lecture, it is written as English. There are going to be some lectures in which we are going to use English also. Okay. So I can say delta S system is dq reversible by t. Yes or no? Integral. So this will be du minus w by t. Can I say this is nothing but integral ncv dt by t minus of minus is plus integral p dv by t. This is from t1 to t2. So can I say the first term is delta S system is n cv ln t2 by t1? Yes or no? Can you tell me what will be p by t? nr by v, since ideal gas. Because this is an integration, right? We have to integrate it. It is integral because I am writing delta S, not ds. Okay, SD. We are calculating delta S, not ds. So this will be nr by v dv from v1 to v2. So can I say delta S system is ncv ln t2 by t1 plus nr ln v2 by v1? Now this is true always. You can always use this formula, always. So you don't have to remember anything other than this for an ideal gas. So now can you tell me if it is an isothermal process? So if it is isothermal, can you tell me what will be delta S system? The first term will go to 0. Can I say it is nothing but nr ln v2 by v1, or I can say it is nr ln p1 by p2 because isothermal, so v2 by v1 is p1 by p2. Yes or no? If I say it is isochoric, so second term will be 0. I can say delta S system is equal to n cv ln t2 by t1. Yes or no? If I say it is isothermal, isobaric, so I can say if it is isobaric, I can say v1 by t1 or v2 by v1 is equal to t2 by t1. Ari, why are you wasting time? Okay, let's ask any other kid. See, people who are attending from the first class, they will understand it. I would strongly recommend, Ari, that you first see the previous lectures and only then sit in the class, because this class is lecture number 3. It will not be useful for you, and basically there will be unnecessary disturbance for other people who are attending the class. Okay. What do you mean by isobaric? I can say delta S system is ncv ln t2 by t1 plus nr ln v2 by v1. So can I write this as ncv ln t2 by t1 plus nr ln T2 by T1. You have the audacity to tell me be cool. Seriously. I'm perfectly cool if you want to waste my time. I am not cool if you want to waste other kids' time. That is the reason, because that is my profession, right? You can ask other kids if they're not getting disturbed by this. Okay? So I'm perfectly cool, don't worry about me. Okay? What will be delta S system now? I can say N, I can write CV plus R. Can you tell me what is CV plus R? N CP ln T2 by T1. So now I'm giving you one question. Can you solve this for me? Can you tell me if it is adiabatic, what will be the value? What will be delta S system? If it is adiabatic. Yes, what will be the value? What will be the value of this adiabatic value? Delta S system is dq reversible by t. For adiabatic, what I can say? dq is equal to 0. Simple enough. So what will happen is, they can ask you that I am giving you a cycle. You have to tell me what basically is the value of delta S in different cases. So you can calculate it. So suppose I give you a phase change. Suppose I give you a liquid gives a gas. Suppose I give you this question. So I can say this is going to be an equilibrium. So this temperature is going to be T boiling point. This is an equilibrium. So can I say delta S total will be equal to 0? Similarly, if I say a solid gives a liquid, so basically this will be at melting point. So can I say it will be at equilibrium? So can I say delta S total will be equal to 0? Yes or no? Rest we are going to come to this in a short while, so don't worry about it. Okay, I will again come to this slide. Change in entropy delta S. So basically, if I ask you change in entropy, this can be calculated. Absolute value of S cannot be calculated. Another thing is entropy is a state function. Therefore, cyclic integral of entropy is equal to 0. So basically, if I take a cycle like this and I ask you what is delta S total for the cycle, so for the cycle it will be equal to 0. Clear? Just like delta U. Entropy change of system and surrounding. Now you know that delta S system is something which we can always calculate. So delta S system is NCV ln T2 by T1 plus NR ln V2 by V1. This is something which we can always calculate. And delta S surrounding will be minus dq process by temperature T. These are the only things which we want to understand and know, because we will be able to solve all the questions using these only. Okay, so now let's see what can be done. Suppose I give you there is one gas, there's another gas here. So I'm saying the pressure, temperature and the pressure temperature are constant. Okay, initially the volume is V1, here the volume is V2, gas 1 and this is gas 2, suppose, and this is N1 moles and this is N2 moles, or I can simply say, let's say gas 1 and gas 2. Okay, now if they are mixing of gases, what will happen? This will happen. Right, so now each gas will have volume V1 plus V2, right? So I can say final volume will be V1 plus V2, pressure temperature is still constant. So can you tell me what is delta S system? It is NCV ln T2 by T1 plus NR ln V2 by V1. Let's say you have N1 moles, let's say you have N2 moles. Okay, now can you tell me what is change in entropy delta S for gas 1? So I can say NCV ln T2 by T1. So this will get cancelled out because temperature is constant, plus NR ln V2. What is V2? So this will be N1R ln V2, which is V1 plus V2 upon V1, which is final volume upon initial volume. Yes or no? Now can I say that V proportional to N? So can I say this is nothing but delta S of gas 1 is equal to N1R ln of 1 by x1, where x1 is mole fraction? Yes or no? So can I say that delta S gas is minus, for the gas 1 is minus N1 R ln x1? Similarly, can I say delta S for gas 2 will be minus N2 R ln x2? So if I say what is delta S mixing of two gases, so that will be delta S of the first gas plus delta S of the second gas. So can I say it is minus R N1 ln x1 plus N2 ln x2? Yes or no? So if I have, let's say, n gases, so can I say for n gases mixing, delta S mixing will be minus R summation Ni ln xi. I goes from 1 to n. So basically N1 ln x1 plus N2 ln x2 plus N3 ln x3 plus N4 ln x4, so on and so forth. So is this clear to all of you? How to deal with mixing of gases? Can you do this question for me? I am drawing this Carnot cycle. This is a Carnot cycle for you, such that T1, T2, everything is plotted. So this is the Carnot cycle. Okay, this is the Carnot cycle. Can you tell me which of the following answer is correct? Write the answers and write your name in the answer. So for example, if the answer is A, write A comma your name. The time starts now. Quickly. C correct. Okay, Jigar is saying C is correct. Let's check. Jigar is saying C. Anyone else? So what we need to understand is this: 1 to 2, right? Temperature is equal to constant and volume is increasing. So I can say entropy will increase. 2 to 3, it is adiabatic. So temperature, basically volume is increasing. Therefore temperature will increase, right? And I can say, sorry, temperature is decreasing because you are going from T1 to, and entropy is constant. Why? Since adiabatic, delta S is equal to 0. Now 3 to 4, I can say temperature is constant, volume is decreasing, so entropy will decrease. And 4 to 1, I can again say temperature increases, क्या हो रहा है? Volume is basically, and S is constant. So now let's draw this. Can you tell me between these two, T1 and T2, I can say T1 is greater than T2. So if I plot the T versus S graph, let's say this is T1. So T1 definitely has to be greater. From 1 to 2, this is T, this is S. So let's say this is 0.1. So 0.1, this temperature is T1. So T1 definitely will be greater. Okay. Now from 1 to 2, entropy increases. Okay. Or from 1 to 2, temperature is constant and entropy increases. So I have to go in this direction. So this is 0.2. From 2 to 3, entropy is basically constant and temperature decreases. So this is point number 2. This temperature is T2. Then finally like this. So basically this can be a very simple but an elegant question, right? So you can say the answer in this case will be C for Calcutta. Okay, let's do one more question. 2 moles of oxygen gas are heated at constant volume from 300 Kelvin to 500 Kelvin and Cp is equal to this, find delta S. This is going to be your homework. We will discuss it in next class. Please attempt this and come. Remember that Cp is given to you, not Cv. Okay. This question is something which you have to solve. Find delta S if 1 mole of A gas is mixed with 2 moles of B gas under constant temperature and pressure conditions. Your time starts now. What is the right answer in this question? So basically it is nothing but delta S mix question. So I can say delta S mix is minus R N1 ln x1 plus N2 ln x2. So I can say it is minus R. What is N1? 1. Ln x1 is 1 by 3 plus 2 ln x2 is 2 by 3. So the answer to this question will be what? Question number 3. So basically minus R into N1 ln x1 did something wrong? Just let me check. D is correct. Just a second. This is N1 R into, okay, no worries, Heta. So this is basically volume. So this is N1 ln x1. So basically in this case the right answer will be actually minus r into, basically this is incorrect because this is 1 by 3, right? This is 2 by 3. So all options in this case, you have an option which is right, which is E, right? This is the right answer. So none of these is the answer. Okay. So yes, at times they can ask you some questions on the basis of these also, but I think it is going to be very straightforward now. Let me give you another question, just a second. Am I audible now? I think there is some technical glitch. Am I audible now, all of you? Can you solve this question for me? This is a very good question. Yes, please solve this question for me. 1 mole of an ideal gas is expanded isothermally irreversibly. So isothermally irreversibly at 400 Kelvin from volume 2 liter to 3 liter at 40 kilojoules of heat is absorbed from the surroundings. Which of the following answer is correct? So I can say delta S system is NCV ln T2 by T1 plus NR ln V2 by V1. Now, since it is isothermal, I can say this value will be 0. So delta S system is nothing but 1 into 8.314 joules into ln of V2 by V1, which is 3 by 2. So if you calculate this, basically this value will come out to be 3.37 joules. So this is correct. What is delta S surrounding? So delta S surrounding is minus dq process by T. What is process? 40 kilojoule is absorbed from the surroundings. So basically surrounding system is plus 40,000 joules. So this will be minus 40,000. Yes or no? And basically what temperature? 400 Kelvin. So basically this will be minus 100. Yes or no? So can you tell me what will be delta S total? Minus 100 plus 3.37 joules. Basically delta S total will be less than 0. So the overall reaction will be non-spontaneous. So now which is correct? This is correct. Yes. This is not correct. This is not correct. This is not correct. Simple enough. Not very difficult. Shall we proceed? What is total entropy change? So the problem is now, if I say delta S system, that is delta S total, which is delta S system plus delta S surrounding. What is the thing is, this delta S surrounding is something which is very difficult to calculate because surrounding is very big. Okay, so if I make one assumption that this is, if this is Q system and this will be minus Q system, or it is Q process, this will be minus Q process. So I can write this as minus dQ at constant pressure because the pressure and temperature between them are constant. This is something which we discussed. So I can say dQ at constant pressure upon T, and this will be dQ system. So can I say this will be dQ system upon T, and since the pressure and temperature are constant, I can say it is dq system at constant pressure. What is dq at constant pressure? This is something I told in the last class. What is dq at constant pressure? Can you tell me? This value will be minus delta H system. So now if I write delta H total, what is the advantage? Delta H system minus delta H system by T. If I write this as T into delta H total, that will be equal to minus delta H system minus T delta H system. Yes or no? Now understand one thing. Everything here is in terms of system. There is no surrounding which you have to observe. So the life becomes easy because system is always going to be much smaller than surrounding. It is impossible to see what is the change in surrounding. So can you tell me one thing? If I name it as a new thing which is delta G, such as delta G is Gibbs free energy change. Gibbs free energy is G and delta means change. Can I write T delta H total is equal to minus of delta G? Yes or no? So can I say for a spontaneous reaction, I will again write it as T delta H total is equal to minus delta G. Now listen to me carefully. For a spontaneous reaction, I can say delta H total is greater than 0. So can I say then, therefore, for a spontaneous reaction, delta G should be less than 0? Yes or no? If I say it is at equilibrium, so at equilibrium, delta H total is equal to 0. So can I say at equilibrium, delta G will be 0? Yes or no? Similarly, if I ask you for a non-spontaneous process, you will say delta H total is less than 0. So I can say that for a non-spontaneous reaction, delta G is greater than 0. So this is the criterion for spontaneity. So this is one way to derive. Another way to derive is I start with Clausius inequality. What is Clausius inequality? dq reversible greater than equal to dq. Yes or no? Can I write dq reversible is greater than equal to all values? No, change, not all values. Delta of all values will be 0. Okay, MR? Can I write dq as du minus w? So w basically is nothing but WPV. So I can write it as dq reversible is greater than du minus WPV, that is the PV work, minus W non-PV, that is the non-PV work. I'm just writing it here. What do you mean by W non-PV? W non-PV is non-PV work is nothing but W electrical. That is maximum useful work, or I can say useful work. So now if I substitute, one more thing which I've understood is, can I write this as TdS? Since I'm writing everything in terms of system only, and I'm writing this as minus of minus PdV minus W non-PV. Why? Since ds system is equal to TQ reversible by T, where this is the system one only. Okay, so can I write this as TdS greater than, I know that H is equal to U plus PV, so I can say that U is equal to H minus PV. Yes or no? So can I write this as D of H minus PV plus PdV minus W non PV? Yes or no? So can I write this as TdS is greater than equal to dH minus dP into V minus V minus PdV plus PdV minus W non PV. This term will get cancelled out. Now we have assumed that pressure and temperature are constant. So can I say W non PV goes this side, or I can simply say this cancelled out. I can simply say, if I bring everything on one side, can I say W non PV dH minus TdS minus dPV minus W non PV is less than equal to 0? Yes or no? Now there are three assumptions which I make. The first assumption being temperature, pressure is constant. So if I make these two assumptions, this can become d of H minus Ts. Just open this, you will have dH minus dt into S, which will be 0, minus TdS. This term dP into V will be 0. So basically I will have del G, or I will say dG, and I can say this will be less than equal to W non PV. Yes or no? So that is the reason Gibbs free energy change delta G represents W non PV and basically the maximum value of it. So maximum useful work. But if I say W non PV is equal to 0, I can say dG, keeping pressure, volume, pressure, temperature constant, is less than 0 for W non PV is equal to 0. So this is the criterion of spontaneity, which is already what we derived here. So even if you want to do this mathematically, you can derive it. It is not difficult. Simple enough. Yes or no? You can always derive it, is what I am trying to say. dG is equal to V dP minus SdT. What is Gibbs-Helmholtz equation? Again, very simple. I can say, before this, tell me one thing. If I say what is delta G, so delta G is delta H minus T delta S. So let me draw one small thing for you. Suppose I give you a reaction in which you can find delta H, you can find delta S, and this is, let's say, delta G. Okay. So this is delta H, this is delta S, and this is delta G. So what is the possibility? This is negative, this is positive, this is positive, this is negative, this is negative, this is negative, this is positive, this is positive. These are the only 4 cases. Tell me, if I want this term to be negative, I want delta H to be negative. So favorable condition of delta H is negative. And if I want this term to be negative, this is already multiplied by negative. So the favorable condition of delta S is to be positive. So this is favorable. This is favorable. So if I take the first case, if both of them are favorable condition, just substitute. This is negative, this is positive. So I can say delta G is negative at all temperature. So I can say it is spontaneous at all temperature. Yes or no? Because it is going to be negative at all temperature. So this reaction will happen always. Similarly, if you see this is positive at all temperature, check it, because the first term is positive and second term is negative. So negative into negative is positive again. So this is positive at all temperature, or I can say it is non-spontaneous at all temperature. Yes or no? So these reactions will never happen. If I ask you this question, first term is negative, so I want temperature to be low. So basically this will be negative at low temperatures, or I will say it is spontaneous at low temperatures. Similarly, this will be negative at high temperatures, or I can say it will be spontaneous at high temperatures. Simple enough. So I can give you a question in which I can give you delta H, delta S, and I ask you whether the reaction is spontaneous or not. So you have to use delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Are we clear about this? Shall we proceed? What is Gibbs-Helmholtz equation? At times they can give you a question like this. So dg, we just derived this, that dg is equal to v dp minus s dt. Because dh is equal to du plus pv, so we can directly write it. So this is something which you will add. dg is equal to v dp minus s dt. Now listen to me carefully. If I say that the pressure is constant, can I say del g by del t keeping pressure constant? So pressure is constant, first term is 0. So will this be not equal to minus s? Yes or no? And if I put delta on both sides, can I say del of delta g by delta p at constant pressure is equal to, by del t at constant pressure is minus delta s? Yes or no? So if I give you if I give you the value of delta g, you can always find delta s. We will do a problem on this. Now suppose I substitute here. I know delta g is equal to delta h minus t delta s. So I can say delta g plus t delta s is equal to delta h. So can you tell me what is the value of delta h now? I can say it will be delta g, and I can say it is plus t delta h. So it will be minus t del g by del t at constant pressure. Yes or no? Yes or no? So basically everything is now in terms of delta g only. We will do questions. If I give you an equation like AA plus BB gives CC plus DD, this is something which we have already done in chemical equilibrium. Reaction quotient is Q, which is C to the power of C, D to the power of D, upon A to the power of A, B to the power of B. So if I ask you what is delta G is equal to delta G naught plus RT ln Q. If I ask about equilibrium, what will happen at equilibrium? At equilibrium, delta G is 0 and Q is equal to K. So therefore I can say delta G naught is equal to minus RT ln K, where K is the equilibrium constant. And this is something which I can write it as delta H naught minus T delta H naught also. So you will have some questions on the basis of this also. Let's do this question. Calculate delta G if 2 moles of this gas is heated at constant pressure from 200 Kelvin to 300 Kelvin. Try solving this question. Yes, PR, you were saying question. This is the question for you. I can give you a starting hint. You want the hint? dg is equal to vdp minus sdt. Okay, now get your answer quickly. Yes. What can we do in this question? Tell me. We are given constant pressure. Yes or no? So this term becomes 0. So delta G is integral dg, which is integral minus of 30 plus 20 ln t dt from 200 to 300. So what will be delta G? Delta G will be 30 into 300 minus 200 minus, this will be negative sign, this one will be minus 20. What is integral of ln t? T ln t minus t, and this will go from 200 to 300. So if you solve this value, delta g will come out to be minus 14029 approximately. So basically this is the answer. Simple. So now I will not say it is an easy question, but I am saying that this is something which we have done in this class and we are applying it. Okay. Okay. Are we clear? Shall we move on to the next question? This is a brilliant question. Tell me your answer to this. Delta G is A plus BT ln T, where A and B are constants. Then what will be the value of delta H? What will be the value of delta H? Sorry, this C is correct. Can you solve this question for me? Jigar. Question number 6. So I know, see, delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. So I can say this is nothing but B ln T, right? D is the answer. D is the answer, right? PR? No. D is not the answer. I'll tell you how. This has to be independent of T. So basically ln T into B cannot be S. That cannot happen. So what we have to do is we have to use Gibbs-Helmholtz equation. So I can say del G by del T, and I can write del of delta G by delta at constant pressure with a negative sign is delta S. So basically if I ask you what is delta S, the differentiation of this, because there is no temperature term, so basically I will say it is B ln T negative sign minus B plus B into T into 1 by T is delta S. This will cancel out. So delta S is minus of B plus B ln T. This will be your answer. So this is how you use Gibbs-Helmholtz equation. Getting my point? Now if I ask you what will be delta H, so I can say delta G, which is A plus BT ln T. This is delta G. This is delta H minus T into delta S. What is delta S? Minus B ln T. So if I ask you what will happen, this BT ln T will cancel out. So this will get cancelled out with this. So I can say delta H will be A minus BT. So this is correct and this is correct. Simple enough. So you guys now got the idea of how to take care of questions like these. Delta S vaporization is given to you, okay, and boiling point is given to you. Determine delta S surrounding if 10 mole condenses at its boiling point. Can you do this question for me? So before we move on to this question, let's understand one thing which I said I will come to it later. Can you tell me what will happen if delta G S total is 0? Delta G is equal to 0. Delta G is equal to 0. Now what is delta G? So in this case it will be delta H vaporization minus T boiling point into delta S vaporization, which will be equal to 0. So can I say that delta S vaporization is equal to delta H vaporization by T boiling point? Similarly, can I say delta H fusion minus T melting point into delta S fusion is equal to 0? So can I say if state change is happening or phase change is happening, can I say at phase change delta S fusion is delta H fusion upon T melting point? Yes or no? This is pretty straightforward. So now look at this question. Delta S vaporization and boiling point are given to you. So can you tell me what will be delta S vaporization is equal to delta H vaporization upon boiling point? So 87 कितना हो गया? 87 plus 273, 360. So can you tell me what will be delta H vaporization? That will be 80 into 360. Yes or no? This much joule per mole. So if I ask you what is delta S surrounding, so delta S surrounding will be minus delta H system, which will be minus delta H vaporization upon boiling point. Boiling point is nothing but 360, and basically that will be minus of 80 into 360 by 360. Now this is for 1 mole, but I have given 10 mole. So can you tell me what will be delta S surrounding? It will be minus 80 into 10. So minus 800 joules. But the question is, why is it 800 joules? Because the question is not boiling, it is condensation. It condenses. So basically this is for boiling. So delta S surrounding for condensing is just the opposite reaction. So basically this answer will be B for Bombay. Got my point? B is correct. Yes, Jigar. Okay. In which of the following cases delta S total, so basically this is delta S total, is greater than 0? Falling of leaf from a tree, boiling of egg, stretching of rubber band, freezing of ice at minus 20. So freezing of water into ice. Freezing of water into ice at minus 20 degrees Celsius, 1 atm. This is more than one correct. My question is, so your answer is A, B, C, D. Is that it? PR, your answer is A, B, C, D? Sasha is saying C. Okay. B and D. Okay. There are two PRs. I don't know PR. You can just simply write your name. What is the answer to this question? So falling of leaf from tree is a spontaneous process. Yes or no? So this delta S total is greater than 0. This is right. This is perfect. Now what happens in boiling of eggs? Eggs consist of proteins. Proteins are amino acids. So what happens when you boil? Basically these chains are like closely packed. If you boil, what will happen? They will open up. So basically the protein chains, because proteins are long amino acid chains, right? So if you basically boil, these open up. So this is known as denaturation of proteins. So what will happen if denaturation of protein will happen? Entropy change is increasing because you are giving them more freedom. They were initially very closely held. Now the chain has extended. So I can say this also is spontaneous. Stretching of rubber band. Let's say there is a rubber band. This is a rubber band. Initially this and this point A and B are there. Okay. Let's say I stretch them in this direction and I stretch this in this direction. What will happen in stretching? This A will come here This B will come here. Yes or no? Can you tell me one thing? If you stretch it like this, A and B comes here. Which is a normal way? This reaction will go backward or this reaction will go forward? If you take the rubber band and if you stretch it like this, it is bound to go to this state. Yes or no? It is bound to go to this state. So this is spontaneous. So obviously this is going to be non-spontaneous. Yes or no? So if backward is spontaneous, forward is non-spontaneous. So this is not possible. Freezing of water into ice minus 20 degrees Celsius. Obviously it will freeze at 0 degrees Celsius only. This is less than freezing point. This is also spontaneous. So this is your answer. So your answer is A, B and D. Simple enough. What is third law of thermodynamics at 0 Kelvin or at absolute 0 or 0 Kelvin? The absolute value of entropy is a constant, which is 0 in most cases. What do I mean by this? Tell me what will happen at 0 Kelvin. What will happen at 0 Kelvin? All motion cease. So can I say number of ways in which it can exist will be 1. So S is equal to K ln omega. So that will be K ln 1. Can I say it will be 0? So basically can I say S at 0 Kelvin is equal to 0? Yes or no? But for some cases, okay, for some cases, example I take CO. So what will happen in CO? CO basically can exist like this or can exist like this at 0 Kelvin. Or if I take NO, NO I can take basically can exist like this or can exist like this. So for them entropy at 0 Kelvin will not be equal to 0 because number of ways are 2, not 1. But then also the value of entropy at 0 Kelvin is going to be some value which is constant. It is not going to vary. Normally what happens, if at any other temperature the entropy can vary. But at 0 Kelvin, if everything is basically coming to a standstill, solid, liquid, gas, basically you don't have any state. You will have super condensed solid. That is the only state. So no particles can move and basically that is the only way. So number of ways is equal to 1. So randomness is basically 1. So I can say entropy S absolute value will be 0. Yes or no? Yes, it is hypothetical. Yes or no? So let's do one question on the basis of this. I give you a question, H2O ice minus 20 degrees Celsius 1 atm. Okay, so I will tell you how to solve this problem. So the question is H2O ice minus 20 degrees Celsius 1 atm is changing to H2O steam this is 120 degrees Celsius and 2 atm, and you have to find what is the delta S total change. Okay, so now I know that delta S is basically a state function. So can I say I first change it to H2O ice at 0 degrees Celsius 1 atm? Can I now change it to H2O water at 0 degrees Celsius 1 atm? Can I now change it to H2O steam or H2O water at 100 degrees Celsius and 1 atm? I change this to H2O steam at 100 degrees Celsius and 1 atm. I then change it to H2O steam at 120 degrees Celsius and 1 atm, and finally to this. Let's call this as delta S1, this is delta S2, this is delta S3, this is delta S4, this is delta S5, and this is delta S6. Can I call it like this? Yes or no? So can you tell me, from 1 to 2 temperature is changing, what will be the value of, the pressure is constant, right? The pressure is constant, so can I say delta S is NCP ln T2 by T1? Yes or no? What is T2? 273. What is T1? 253. Yes or no? From this to this, I can say it is phase change. So what is delta S at phase change? It is going to be T delta H vaporization upon T boiling point, which is 373. Can I say it will be N Cp of water, here it is Cp of ice, ln T2 by T1, so T2 is 373, T1 is 273, yes or no? Again it is a phase change here. So can I say there delta S4 is equal to delta H fusion upon 473, sorry, upon 3, this is 273, right? This will be 373. Here delta S5 is N Cp of steam ln T2 by T1, so this will be 393 upon 373. And from here temperature is constant, pressure is changing, so it is Nr ln V2 by V1 or Nr ln P1 by P2. Yes or no? So if I ask you what is delta S total, I can simply say delta S total is delta S1 plus delta S2 plus delta S3 plus delta S4 plus delta S5 plus delta S6. If I ask you to plot the curve of this equation, can you plot the curve? Let's say this is boiling point, this is melting point. This is melting point, this is boiling point. Okay. So basically this is nothing but the change in entropy S. This is temperature. So at 0 Kelvin, this is, let's say 0 Kelvin. At 0 Kelvin, I can say entropy will be 0 according to third law. What will happen? The entropy will increase. This is delta S1. Then at the same melting point, this is going to remain same. So this is delta S2. Then it is going to increase further. This is delta S3. Delta S4 will be greater because now you are having a bigger entropy change. Why? Because delta S2 is from solid to liquid, delta S4 is from liquid to gas, so entropy change will be higher. So this line will be higher in height compared to this. Then I can say delta S5 again increases. If you check delta S6, this is negative value, so then it basically decreases. Getting my point? So I can simply not ask you to calculate this. I can simply ask you to plot. I can give you 4 curves and I can ask you which of the following is the right curve. Now you can answer that. So this is the question. So if you will calculate everything, you will substitute everything, you will get this as your answer. So this is exactly the same question which I have done here. So now you can do it. Okay. So we will have one more lecture on Wednesday at 3 p.m. and I hope all of you will now revise and come. Okay. And you should, it is not about lengthy, it is about understanding. So I will give you 4 curves. You should be able to read it, the curve. So you are going to derive it now so that when the curve comes, you can read that curve. PR, when we are learning something, there are no shortcuts because we are understanding the concepts. This is the fundamental chapter. The shortcuts will come to you naturally if and only if you have derived it. So they will not ask you calculations involved, but you should know the concept. Drawing the curve will not require any calculation, right? You simply have to tell me it is going to be positive or negative. Okay. So all of you now can do the questions related to this topic from Amazon Academy app. You can also see the DPP and solve the DPP. Next class, we will do thermodynamics, the last part, which is thermochemistry. Okay. Okay, guys, I'll see you again in the next class. Till then, happy learning.